What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me again today. I always appreciate it when you come back to watch yet another video. In the next few minutes, I'm going to help you understand how you're going to be able to buy that car that over the last few years you've had your eye on, but you feel like it's become out of reach because of all the inflation of these vehicle prices. And now you just can't afford it. Well, the good news is you are going to be able to afford it, and you're going to be able to buy it at a pretty steep discount. And I'm going to show you how, so stick with me. With that said, in today's video, we're going to take a deep breath. We're going to take a step back and get that 30,000 foot view at the car market, and we're going to avoid recency bias. Recency bias is just the method of thinking that whatever's been happening or whatever's happened in the past 6 months to a year has to be what's going to happen in the future. We want to avoid that and get a different perspective. You see, most people can only see what's right in front of their face, and they have a hard time understanding what's happened in the past and how it's going to affect what's going to happen in the future. So to understand how you guys are going to get a great deal on the car that you've been wanting for the past couple years, we need to understand why car prices are so inflated and how that's going to affect what's going to happen as we go into the next year or two. The first thing that's really obvious is when this cough that's been going around has started, it caused a shortage. A lot of things like the chips for vehicles, among other things, became hard to get with everything shut down. That meant that the demand stayed where it was, but there was less to be sold, so that brought the prices up naturally with supply and demand. Now couple that along with the stimulus checks that we got. If you think about it and ask anybody that works at the car dealership, when tax returns come out and people get that extra check they weren't expecting, vehicle sales go way up along with a lot of other things. So these stimmies just ended up basically being like a bunch of extra tax returns that people got, and it drove prices up because people went out and bought things they wouldn't normally have purchased. They bought them faster than they normally would, and they spent more than they normally would. So that again drove the prices higher. Then we have really low interest rates. Whenever there's trouble economically, what usually happens is the Fed slams interest rates low. That means that debt is really easy and it's really cheap to get. So getting something that's more expensive than you usually would have been able to get becomes easier to get. So more people do it. And that just snowballs all those things together to create a herd mentality where everyone wants to keep up with the Joneses. Everybody sees their friends getting things, their neighbors getting things, and they want to be part of that excitement too, so they dive in. The last thing that I want to mention of why these prices have gotten so high is FOMO, the fear of missing out. And that goes along with that herd mentality. Every time that there's a big inflation in prices, whether it's homes, lumber, cars, you're going to hear the same thing in every cycle. People say they're always going to keep going up. You better buy now before you can't. And that's what you hear as things get towards the peak and everyone is freaking out, buying in and driving things up for that blow off top before they come down. What I want you guys to understand is that this stuff is cyclical. It happens in a cycle. If you look at prices in the past, you're going to see they happen like a roller coaster, especially with homes. They go up and they go down. And this has been happening this way for 100 years, and it's going to continue to happen that way in the future. What you have to do is be calm, keep a level head, and prepare yourself. So what is all this going to lead to? Well, not only are prices of everything getting high in certain markets, they're pretty much getting high overall. If you're under the age of 40, you are experiencing the highest inflation that has happened in your entire life. The prices of everything is going up. Food, gas, cars, energy, homes, all the big expenses and the small expenses are all going up at once, and it's going to be a while before they go back down. Something that you guys need to understand is no matter how well off your neighbors look, most Americans, whether they're buying a $50,000 car, $60,000 car, $70,000, $80,000 car, are living paycheck to paycheck. And they're planning their purchases out based on what they can afford right now. With inflation, it pinches your pocketbook and runs you thin. When your groceries double or get close to double, when fuel doubles, when everything that you have to purchase that you can't get away with not purchasing, you gotta eat, you gotta travel, you gotta have a house, you gotta pay your rent. When all that stuff goes up, you get in trouble and you gotta start cutting expenses, and people are stretched so thin that they have to start getting rid of a lot of the things that they have. There's going to start to be a sell-off. And then what's gonna kick that in the pants and accelerate it even further is eventually these supply chain issues are going to get resolved all these vehicles, you've seen photos of just cars, tons and tons of cars parked in a field waiting for chips. When they get their chips, they're gonna move fast because it's a small part that goes in easy, and all these vehicles are ready and they're gonna flood the market. So with the flood of new inventory, the flood of used inventory from people getting rid of things, by the way, used vehicle repossessions along with new vehicle repossessions are going up at a pretty alarming rate. They're accelerating. I think they're gonna slow down a little bit when everyone gets their tax returns and can make those payments to try to hold on to their vehicle a little bit longer. But repossessions are going to continue to go up as inflation gets worse. So expect a flood of inventory to happen in the future. There's only a few circumstances that I can see really pushing vehicle prices much higher. I don't really want to get into it too much because it's a bit controversial, but basically what's happening with a certain country doing something to another country in the news right now could happen with China and another country, and that could really blow up the supply chain. But that aside, what can you guys do to prepare and be able to take advantage of what is coming? What can you do to be able to be confident and not fearful? Understand that most people who are really wealthy make the most money in a downturn, not when things are doing well. Because while everyone else is selling at discounted prices and freaking out, they're calm and they're picking up the pieces at a hugely discounted rate. Now I have to say, I don't think that the really expensive cars like Supras, Mark IV Supras, and some of like the older Skylines, and just the really high luxury collector cars are gonna go down that much. What's gonna fall is the wide range of used vehicles that have gone up 30 or 40% or more. All these people that purchase these vehicles at 30 to 40% inflated prices, as soon as this gets back to just normal, that means that the prices are going to fall 30 or 40%. And if you have a loan on those sort of things, you're gonna be instantly underwater by 30 or 40%. Not a good deal. You don't want that to be you. So what can you do moving forward, like I said? Well, I can't really tell you what to do moving forward because I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just some idiot on YouTube in his 30s that likes to give you my opinion on camera. But what I would do is, if you are one of the ones who bought an overvalued vehicle, especially if it's a gas guzzler, I would sell it right now while you can and get the good price for it. When gas prices are expensive and there's economic turmoil, nobody wants the huge expensive gas guzzlers because they're the ones that cost the most to buy and cost the most to continue to drive. Those are the things that are gonna take the biggest tank. So I get rid of those and I get myself into something small and economical, something that can just get you by and give you more cash in your pocket to set aside and get ready. In order to take advantage of a downturn, you've got to have a cushion of cash and you've got to have good credit. And just like there's panic buying in a mass hysteria, there's also panic selling when the mood turns around and everyone's freaking out to get rid of things. And that just accelerates the drop in prices that much more. Then what will happen is, while everyone else is having to sell and everyone else is in trouble, you were patient, you were smart, you set things aside, and you're gonna be the one who's got the calm head. You're that meme with the dog drinking the coffee while the house is on fire. That's gonna be you, but you're gonna be okay. The last thing that I would do to really prepare myself is, if you have any debt, especially if it's credit card debt or debt without a fixed interest rate, I would pay that off so fast because interest rates are rising. That debt's gonna become more and more expensive to service. And it's really like an anchor that slows you down from moving forward in life. Now I'm about to tell you guys something that is going to absolutely shock you. Did you know if you only had $5,000 in credit card debt, doesn't sound like that much, but this is insane, that if you made just the minimum payments, it would take you over 30 years to pay that off, and your total cost, including all the interest in that 30 years, would be over $25,000 on that $5,000. These cycles happen, and you're always gonna hear people saying that things are never gonna stop getting more and more expensive. And while in the long term that may be true, in the more short term, there is going to be a cycle, and I want you guys to be able to take advantage of it. I know that I am. I have my eyes on a couple of cars that I wanna get, and when this happens, I'm gonna jump on it, and I'm gonna be ready to do it. And then as things get back to normal, and prices start to go up again, as naturally happen, those assets that you have, you'll probably be able to drive those and keep them for years and sell them at the same price or more heading into the future because you got it at the right time. The last thing that I want to recommend to you all is, when you have cars, it's just good to know how to take care of and to diagnose those vehicles, and the right tools really help you do that. Because something as a simple $40 part that needs to be replaced can cost you $1,000 if you've got to pay for the labor. And we want to avoid that and be able to do that $1,000 repair for $40.
And one of my favorite tools that I've gotten my hands on more recently, and full disclosure, this was sent to me for free, but I'm not paid, so this is my honest opinion. I'm not motivated by anything else otherwise, is this top-down diagnostics tool. Having a tool like this over just a basic diagnostics tool, and this was a really good value, by the way, is invaluable, because the better you can communicate with your car's computer and see what's going on, the better you're gonna be able to fix things without any question. Not only can you read whatever tools are going on, but you can see live data. Like this graph, for instance. Don't know if your math is bad. With the E36s around 3 liters or so, you should be hitting around 11.5 to 12.5 kilograms per hour at idle, and that's what we've got right now. And as you hit the gas, you can see that it responds just the way that it should. But you can also reset service lights, reprogram batteries. Pretty much the possibilities are endless, and whatever they can do at the dealership, this is going to be able to do for the most part. Just to get that little piece of information, a shop could have charged you an hour of labor for diagnostics, and that could have cost $100. With that said, hope you guys enjoyed the video today. Hope that gave you a different perspective than what you're hearing. Think about it. Even if you disagree with it, don't put yourself in an echo chamber. You're the smartest person when you take in all perspectives. Hope you guys make a good choice. Hope you guys can get the cars that you want. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you enjoyed this kind of content. Well, I'll see you guys in the next one.